Hello, Podsmashers of the Internet, and welcome to the 7th episode of Termite's Buzz, a weekly video game podcast centered around my trophies and what I'm playing, some news that happened in the video game industry, and then ending the episode and rounding it off with a little retro discussion. And I'm going to say right off the bat, the retro discussion things probably aren't super meaty in today's episode because the first two segments are going to be a lot, because something amazing has happened. The release of the PlayStation VR 2 is upon us. So, with trophies and what I am playing, right off the bat, the first segment that I'm in here in today's episode of Termite's Buzz is all about PlayStation VR 2 and my experience there. But first, a little housekeeping. I am Termite, one of two hosts of Bit Podsmash. The other host, Penguin, and I decided to take a hiatus, and so this show, Termite's Buzz, is kind of a stand-in lieu of our greater 80-Bit Podsmash podcast, which is a weekly video game podcast centered around various topics and how they relate to video games. We should be coming back around the second quarter of the year, if not a little later, as we take a step back to decide what we're going to do with the show and what the content's going to look like, how to refresh it, and come back. All of the content is all through the same RSS feed and same channels, so you can find all of that information at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website with links to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, etc. on the audio side. And for our social media platforms, you can give us feedback, thoughts, concerns, questions, ideas, and you can interact with us at Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter. We have a Discord channel, as well as our TikTok. You can find some random content dropped on TikTok as well. And there's a link tree all available at 80bitpodsmash.com, 80bitpodsmash.com. So, I hope to find you all well on this week, the end of February. We're going into spring officially, although apparently it's like snowing in parts of the country that have never had snow or unprecedented amounts of snow, so it's wild. Take care of the earth, folks. PlayStation VR 2. So it came in on Wednesday, the 22nd, which was the release day, and the only two titles that I have cared to mess with it are Horizon Call of the Mountain. Of course, I got the bundle that came with it, and it was a digital card that came alongside it, and the Gran Turismo 7 VR mode, which was a free add-on for launch day, which is fantastic. So I unboxed the whole PlayStation VR 2 system. It really is just a headset with one cord. The cord is attached to the headset, and then the DualSense controllers, or they're not calling them DualSense controllers, they're Sense controllers, I believe. And you can find pictures of those and what they look like on the internet. I also picked up the controller docking station, and I'm so glad I did, because each of the controllers have their own USB. They're not connected. So in order to charge them, I would have to have two extra USB cables, and it came with one, which is kind of strange. And so you'd have to charge them one at a time if you didn't have the dock. So I highly recommend the dock. Dock is a little expensive. It was another $50, but it is a place that you can put both of the Sense controllers into when you're not playing VR. And that unboxing it was very simple. That's all it was. And upon plugging in the VR headset and turning it on, there's a little power button in the front there, and you put it on your head. Well, actually, even before you put it on your head, the PlayStation 5 recognizes that you plugged one in and asks you if you want to run through the initial setup. And you hit yes. It was very easy to set up, very easy to follow and walk through. You put you do all the setup. You have to sync up the Sense controllers. Each of them are separate, so each have their own PlayStation buttons, joysticks, and start buttons. And so you go through and you sync up each controller, and the on-screen instructions walk you through everything. It's super easy. And then you put the headset on, and it tells you inside the headset the steps that it takes to make your adjustments. The most important adjustment is the eye position, so you can bring the lens closer together or separate them depending on the spacing of your own eyes. And that is the single most important feature. And I'll actually talk about this as the one confusion on the whole setup that tripped me up. In the glasses, in the goggles, in the headset, there is a picture of a face wearing the headset, and it has it moves. What I thought was a cheeky animation was actually the real headset and eye tracking software giving you the feedback of where the headset is sitting on your face. And I'm not going to go into the technical specifications of PSVR 2 because I feel like that's everywhere. Like almost every article you read about PSVR 2, every review, every post, everything about it talks about the resolution of the screens, the HDR, the camera tracking, all the stuff. Well, it has eye tracking inside of it, so it tracks where your eyes are looking. So this setup, this setting, the most important one is the placement on your face. Is it too far down your nose? Is it too high up your nose? Is it crooked? Is it too far to the left, too far to the right? And all of this is kind of the whole headset, right? So there's a headband that you can tighten around your head. And there's a little knob on the back to do that. And then there's another button that brings both lenses closer to your eyes, and that's separate. So you want to kind of you want to compartmentalize this. You want to get the headband on your head, and you want to get it secure. And then after that's good, you want to bring the visor into your eyes, bring it close to your face. And then you can look at the screen, and the screen will tell you if it's sitting too high on your face or too low on your face, and you can make the minor adjustments accordingly. It sounds a little bit more complicated than it is initially because I had never played any VR in my entire life except for playing at Jimothy's house once on PlayStation VR 1 eons ago. I have no experience with this other than the quick thing. So I was seeing a little bit of fuzziness, what they call chromomatic aberration or something is the technical term for it. But when you see a white letter font, you can see it as three colors, and it's red, white, and blue. And it's the way the pixels are represented. You kind of get like the light is stretched out, almost like a prism. It's just like stretched out. So you want to fix that by doing this setting. So there was the one setting that tripped me up, only because I didn't know what I was seeing in the screen was actually the headset on my eyes. I just thought it was a cheeky picture animation that was demonstrating how to do it. Once I realized it was real, I went back into it, adjusted it accordingly, and then everything was awesome. So this is the setup, right? Next step is your play area, and it automatically scans your whole area around you. Just look up, look down, turn around, you just look everywhere. And the outward-facing cameras are turned on, so you can sort of, quote, see through the headset without taking it off. And you can see your whole space and your area. And then you can use your sense controllers to define a more specific space for you, because it'll try to auto figure out your safe area, but it doesn't always pick up everything. I have an entertainment center with a door that is maybe 6 inches tall, and it's where the console sits, but that door is open so the console can get air. It doesn't pick that up at all. So I had to kind of draw around that so I wouldn't trip on the door. And then if you have things like an ottoman or other lower sitting furniture, it won't pick those things up. Big stuff like couches and chairs, it will. So anyway, it does require you to trace your steps. So you have this laser gun, and you use the laser to define your space around you. And that doesn't take very long. And then once you do it, it's kind of saved in memory, and then you can reuse that next time you play. So you don't have to do it every time. So you go through that setup process, and I'm excited. I'm I want to play games, right? Here's all this setup. I'm doing all this stuff, trying to learn the headset, learn the buttons. I don't know where anything is. It's all new, but I'm excited. This is a new console. And so finally get that done. Well, Horizon's still downloading, so I can't play that right away. So I fire up Gran Turismo 7, and I forget to put the disc in. So there's a cool feature about the PlayStation VR 2 is there's a button on the bottom of the visor that you click, and it allows you to see through the headset by using the cameras on the outside of the headset to show you what you would normally see. It's perfect. It is a black and white image. It's not color. Still fine. I could navigate to where my discs are, pull open the disc, put the disc in, do the thing, fire up Gran Turismo 7. What I didn't know is Gran Turismo 7's VR mode, or all of Gran Turismo 7, is actually controlled with the DualSense controller. So my Sense controllers weren't doing anything when Gran Turismo 7 had started. And so I was sitting through this intro video for 5 minutes, mashing buttons. Okay, I've seen this video. Why won't it work? And then it finally got to the main menu, and it was still not working. And the buttons and the joysticks of my Sense controllers were doing nothing. And I was like, what the crap? And then I was like, do I have to use a controller? So somehow I figured that out on my own, just intuition, I guess. Got up and grabbed the DualSense controller that was sitting on the entertainment stand, and sure enough, that's what was working. So I was like, okay, well, I'd like to drive with this anyway because I don't have a steering wheel. So I'm the most comfortable with the controller. It's what I've used in my 30 hours with Gran Turismo 7 anyway, so it makes sense. So I sit down, And the first thing I wanted to try was not a race, because VR is new to me. So I was like, I don't want to jump right into a race. I want to kind of see what else it can do. And there's this virtual showroom where you can take any car from your garage or from the stores, and you can go into virtual showroom. When you click that, it asks you so you find your car, you pick whichever car you want to see, and my favorite car is the Nissan Skyline. So I picked that, and it's the one from Too Fast, Too Furious that Brian drove in the movie. And I don't remember exactly. I think it's 2002, and it might be an R32 if you're really into which exactly Skyline I'm talking about. So I've got one in the game. I pick it, virtual showroom, and then you get to select a venue. You're like, okay, well, there's like a pit garage. There's a Japanese house like in the woods. There's some other, there's like 7 or so different stages you can put this car in. So I just chose like the garage, the pit garage, and then go. And then it goes from a flat 2D, and remember, I have the headset on, and all I have seen so far is reminiscent of like a movie theater screen. It's, this big, you're sitting in like a black space, and you see like a flat panel, and it's your 2D screen just like in front of you. So that goes away, and finally, I see the most gorgeous 3D rendered image I have ever seen in my life of a Nissan Skyline standing in front of me. And I have my headphones on. I got 3D Pulse wireless headphones. The PlayStation VR does come with some earbuds that you can use. I don't want to use those because I have the 3D Pulse headset. You can hear the sounds of a race, or at least activity at a track going on around you. And the graphics are turned up to 11. Like, it's rendering one car in one room. There's no processing power needed for anything else. No long distance draw distance, like landscapes, no other cars, no AI, no physics, just the most magnificently rendered ray traced reflection car I have ever seen, and it's in front of me. And my jaw dropped. I am beyond, my mind is blown. I'm just gaping in amazement. Of course, I reach out to touch it, and because it's just natural. Like, this is my first, I'm right, this is VR. It's not real life. It completely tricked me. I thought this car was right in front of me. Unbelievable experience. So then I wanted to try out some different venues. So then I tried the Japanese house, and then you're transported, you go back to the menu, you pick that, and loads the car up again. But this time it's inside of a house in the middle of the woods. So all you hear is like chirping of animals and insects, bugs in the distance, and you can completely look around. Like, it's free. You can't like get up and walk, so you can move with joysticks, and you can like lower, like duck and stand higher, like increase or decrease your elevation with the buttons and things, because it's not supposed to be like a walk around the car. You just but you can look as if you're like sitting down. You can look full 360 degrees, so you can look up and around and down and over, and it tracks all of that movement. So I got real close. I got all up in the wheel wells. I got all up in the headlights, the taillights, and the intricate details that are rendered. And this was just one car. This game has like 500 plus cars that are all this. Like, it's all available. I was just blown up. You press a button, you're inside the car. So now you can look at the steering wheel, the console, the dashboard. You can look down at the e-brake and like the doors. And it's full free move your head, like head tracking 3D. You can look everywhere. You can completely turn around. If you stand up in your space, you can turn around and see the whole inside of the car is rendered, and it is gorgeous. So that was my very first PSVR 2 experience, and I'm just like, I can't wait to race. So I back out, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a race. This is my favorite car. I'm just going to pick a random, the whole game is open to VR. So there's no modes. You're not locked into anything. You can choose anything you want to do in the game. You want to do license test. You want to do a cafe menu. You want to do a random arcade race. You can do anything. So I picked like a random arcade race in this car. I didn't really care what track. There's a new track that was added recently with the content that added VR. So I picked the new track, and I jump in, load the race up. And again, it goes like the menus are all flat. Like, the actual 3D depth perception part is only in the VR showroom. So when you back out, it's all 2D again, like you're looking at a theater screen. So then when you first load a race, there's all this, like, there's the intro menus where you can like tune your car, and it shows you who's entered into the race and what position you're going to start in. And it shows like some pre-driving happening, and it's all flat in 2D. So you click start, fade to black, and then it finally wakes up, and you're in the car, in the cockpit, of course, and you're racing. And Again, jaw-dropping. This is amazing, absolutely phenomenal. You can look with your head anywhere you would like. You can look out the side windows. You can look down at your knees. You can look at the car detail of the inside. You can look at the console, the dashboard, the door. You can like lean over to the side and out the window like you're a kid looking at an airplane in the sky while racing. It's amazing. And then people are passing you and you're passing them as you're driving. You can completely freely look around, and so it's natural to like someone's approaching close to your car, so you kind of look at them and you're trying to maintain your line and like race into the corner and know when to brake, and all of that realism just comes to life in virtual reality. It is unbelievable, and me talking about it, I feel like I'm just not doing it justice unless you have the headset and you're experiencing this for yourself. It completely changes the game. It just makes the sense of speed, and it adds that whole layer of realism. I can't imagine what this would be like with an actual racing wheel and like pedals to play with, and the force feedback that you get from those things. Force feedback is when the inputs from the game like vibrate the car or vibrate the steering wheel in such a way that feel realistic. So like if you like run over some rumble strips, it'll vibrate that side of the steering wheel. If you lose a tire and you start spinning out, the steering wheel will like give away. Some arcades have that. If you've ever played a racing game in an arcade, some arcades have that. So if you've not experienced that, I don't really know how else to explain it, but it's like feedback in the steering wheel. The DualSense has something similar with the like rumbling of the triggers and the rumbling, the high haptic vibrations, high fidelity haptic vibrations of the controller really do a good job to convey that in the controller, which is what I had. So that was my very first VR experience, and I hadn't even gotten to Horizon yet. Take a sip of water there. So I wasn't able to play Horizon at all until later that night because it took all day to download and I was working. So I took that half-hour break to play Gran Turismo and then got back to work, finished up the day, got the kids home, bedded, showered, fed, all that stuff. And then I fire up Horizon. And I thought I'd experienced VR. I thought I was good, that I got a good sense for it. Nope. Absolute mind blown again. The opening sequence of Horizon Forbidden West. No, Horizon Call of the Mountain. You are a prisoner in a boat. So there are two people in the boat with you. It's a little wooden rickety boat, and you're on like a river, and you're loaded in, and your hands are in shackles or whatever. So, but you have this actually uses the Sense controller. So now I have two separate controllers instead of one DualSense. It's now the separate ones, the virtual reality controllers with all of the touch tracking and stuff. I couldn't even pay attention to the story. There's a whole story going on. Like the boat gets attacked by these mechanical robots. What am I doing? I'm turning around and looking at the back of the boat, noticing some sailcloth, and sticking my hands onto the sailcloth and watching the interaction in the game unfold in front of me. And then I see the water on the side, and I lean over the boat and I dip my hand in the water, and you can see the ripple effect of the water, and like everything is reacting. It's reacting. This is amazing. And of course there's this whole sequence. I need to start a new game so I can actually pay attention to what the dialogue says, who these characters are, and what's happening. Because as soon as I'm all ingrained in the world, it's absolutely gorgeous, breathtakingly gorgeous, so much that there's seemingly no downgrade in graphics between Forbidden West and Call of the Mountain. And I say seemingly because I'm sure if you take a screenshot of each one and compare it and zoom in, you'll find lots of differences, because some rendering concessions have to be made in order to make two images, one for each eye, slightly offset to produce the 3D effect, versus like a flat TV, which has one screen rendered. So you're almost requiring double the processing power to get it. I don't understand how it works. It's magic. It's wonderful. So, and I had the controller, or the 3D Pulse wireless headphones on again, which has the 3D sound, and so you can hear like distant insects chirping and like background noises and all the things happening around you. Complete spatial awareness as far as audio is concerned. You can hear everything coming from behind you, above you, down, below you, and the boat gets attacked, and it's not a spoiler because it's the intro to the game. And then after that, you're kind of dropped. Story events happen and unfold. And then you're left finally to like explore. And you can, the first thing I did was walk up into what looked like a campsite. And there were these wooden barrels with lids on them. And there were plates. And like the world is alive. It's lush. It's filled with things. And some of these things you can interact with. And I was so enamored with like picking up dinner plates and bowls And you can throw them. You can smash them on the ground. They break. You can pick up like crates, and you can put stuff in the crates and then pick up the crates. Like, I feel like I was experimenting with a gravity gun in Half-Life 2 all over again with the exact same level of excitement. In the open worldness and the freedom to be able, it's not an open world game at all. It's very linear. Like, you have a direct path. Sometimes it's a fork and you have two paths. So I didn't mean open world in the sense of exploration or being able to go wherever you want. I meant like openness in the sense that you can look everywhere. So you can step up to a ledge and you can lean over the ledge and look down. It's fully rendered. You can look up into the sky. You can see the skybox. You can see distant mountains and waterfalls, trees and foliage. And then when you get your bow, it teaches you how to use it, and you have to kind of move your DualSense over your shoulder and grab an arrow with a button and then hold that button down and bring the arrow over the bow and then draw it back and let go. And you're doing all of that with your actual hands. But you can shoot things in the distance and you can look for things. And it's all in the world of Horizon. So I kept playing, and then it gets to the climbing sections, and I heard a lot of gripe about the climbing, like it's too much, there's too much climbing. Well, I don't know if folks have adjusted some settings or not, but you go into the settings and look at what's available to you and turn off and on different things. And one of the things I found extraordinarily helpful with climbing is there's an auto turn, because sometimes you have to climb around turns and like around bends, and it's a little difficult to do when you're like up on the wall. You can look fully around, so you can look up and around, but imagine if you're actually climbing a rock wall. You can't like look through the wall, like you can't look into the rocks to figure out where to go next, so you have to kind of look up and down. But there's an auto turn that will turn orient your character for you, so that you don't have to worry about knowing what to, like the joystick. You use a joystick to turn if you don't have that setting turned on, and it can be a little confusing without it. So the auto turning really, really helped. And then so you just grab ledges and you hit the button and you pull yourself up, and it's really fluid. It works really, really well. And because you can look everywhere, like looking down off of the wall, you're climbing this rock wall and you're super, super high up a mountain, and you look straight down, and it was actually terrifying for like a second, like a brief second, like, whoa, I'm going to fall. Like, it really tricks your brain. It does a good job. This is amazing, folks. This is PlayStation VR 2. I cannot believe it. I'm having a blast. And I played like a total of an hour. And I'm still like, I'm so excited to get back to it. I can't wait to play more. The combat happens. Combat's smooth, but it is kind of on rails. You know, if you're used to Horizon Forbidden West, where you can kind of run everywhere and jump and glide and swing and duck into the tall grass and do all the things, switch your weapons real easy. Because this is VR and you don't have as much access to those types of controls or fluidity, you use like the right joystick to dash to the left or to the right real suddenly, and then there's a lot of slowdowns and warnings when projectiles are coming. So when robots are jumping in from behind you, it'll like slow down and warn you, so you can turn around and look and dodge and get out of the way. So the game does a lot of like helping you not get hit. At least this is the initial stages. Maybe it gets more difficult later. The most difficult fight I've done so far is like 3 birds at once, and you have to track their projectiles and strafe, do the dash, the side dashing. But it was fun, and I had a good time. It was super, super fun. Shot them down. You have completely free aiming, so you can aim wherever you want. You can aim. Of course, there's a button that allows you to throw out your senses, just like in the Horizon game where you slow things down and you can scan the enemies. But it doesn't stop the action to scan the enemies. It just kind of like slows the action down really slow and sends out a pulse, and then it just highlights on their body some weak points that you can shoot. And then there is crafting arrows, and they're switching different types of arrows, but I haven't gotten super into that stuff yet. Another cool thing I just remembered as I was talking is you walk up to a dead end, one of the side forks, and I went off because I want to explore everything, and it was a dead end. And at this dead end were 4 bowls of paint, and you can dip your finger in the paint. Again, you're using your controller, so you're physically like moving your arm and your hand over and dipping. In the game, it's paint, but in real life, it's air. And then you can draw on the wall in like freeform. Again, this is just like the gravity gun or any of those physics-based systems from like Doom 3 way back in the day, all over again, and a whole new level of excitement and realism here that I've never experienced. Graphical fidelity is fantastic. Really, really good stuff. When I played PSVR 1 at Jimothy's, I played Doom VR, and I remember being surprised mostly by the fact that I could physically duck down, like from a standing position down to a crouch, and the camera would follow me in game, and I could look under ledges and shelves. And of course you can do that with this. Like that's like child's play VR compared to what I was able to do with this one. So the tracking, it doesn't require a camera. It's one cable that runs off the back of the headset, and it's the most comfortable if you run it over your shoulder and down the front of you. And then it's long enough that it goes straight down to the floor. But the reason why you want to do that is because you want to get a sense for where the cable is at all times, so you don't accidentally twist yourself around it or trip over it. And I never had any issues with any of that through my entire playthroughs of what I've done so far. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this headset. The cable's not in the way. The only pain point was that, like I said, the troubleshooting with setting it up, things seemed a little blurry until I discovered the eye tracking, situating it over your eyes on your headset. And once I had that figured out, I'm golden. I'm good to go. Now it takes me 10 to 15, 20 seconds to kind of get started again. The only problem is I don't really have anywhere to put the headset and the wire. So I don't really know where to store it. I have to protect it from children and cats and make sure it's all there. But if you have any questions about PSVR 2, if there's something specific I haven't talked about or touched on that you would like to know, especially because it's so expensive, and if you're looking at getting one, maybe you would like to know more. But I was absolutely amazed by it, blown away, totally worth the money, and I'm extremely excited for the future of what's going to come out. I mean, mostly Beat Saber, which we know is coming, but the rumors of Half-Life Alyx coming is extremely exciting, and then whatever else might be on the way. Who knows? This is a PSVR system adopted very early in the life cycle of PlayStation 5, where the first PSVR 1 was adopted 4 years or more after, right? So PS4 launched in 2013. I believe that PSVR 1 launch was 2017. Nope, it was actually 2016. So it was 3 years after the console had come out, just under 3 years. So this time we're 2 years into the life cycle, and it came out just over 2 years. Console came out in 2020. VR comes out very soonly after that in 2023. So just over 2 years. So we're a full year ahead of cycle. We also haven't seen the transition of generations entirely. Namely, every first-party game that has come out so far, except for Returnal, I believe, has been a PS4 and PS5 game. We haven't seen a lot of exclusive PS5 titles yet. I think Final Fantasy 16 is one of the biggest ones coming out this year. I think Stellar Blade is coming out later. So we're in, and what I'm trying to get at is that we're not really in the PlayStation 5 generation yet. I mean, we are. Obviously, you can go get the console, you can go buy PS5 games and get all the upgrades and deal with it. I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. The PS5 is amazing compared to the PS4, but there hasn't been, like, no one's feeling left out if you don't have a PlayStation 5 other than the nice-to-haves, and we're just starting to get into the part of the life cycle where it's becoming mandatory to get a PlayStation 5. I'm seeing Hogwarts Legacy. It's getting its PS4, Switch, and last-gen title later. Like, the PS5 and Series X version launched first. We're seeing Suicide Squad's coming later this year on PS5, which we'll get to in a sec. Stellar Blade, of course, is PS5 exclusive. Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, that's this year. So we're finally starting to take a step into 100% current-gen games. And so it's kind of like year one of this generation. And the pandemic affected things, no doubt that the PlayStation 5 lifecycle is going to be longer than the PlayStation 4 just because it took so long to get started because of the pandemic and slowdowns and supply shortages and all the things, inflation and constraints. So that's just my speculation. I feel like the PlayStation 5 life cycle is going to last a really, really long time. I think it's going to be longer than the 7 years of the PlayStation 4 cycle. So given that PSVR 1 came out 3 years after PlayStation 4, and it lasted 4 more years after that, I feel like this coming out 2 years after the console launch, but really year one, because we're just now getting into this current gen. We've got another 7 years ahead of us of PSVR 2 content and upgrades and like patches and whatever else we're going to see, new features added, maybe new controller type things. Who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But I feel like now's a good time to get in, that the money's worth it. There may not be a lot of great, amazing launch titles now, but I think the reviews don't do Horizon Call of the Mountain justice. I think it's a way better game than what people have been saying, and I don't know why exactly, but if you peruse the Reddit threads for PSVR, you'll find a lot of love for Horizon. You'll also see a lot of critique of the headset and a lot of critique over like some blurriness and technical issues. I don't know, don't let that cloud your judgment either, because there's just as much praise and ease of use and greatness abound. So it's really difficult if you don't have a PlayStation VR 2 and you kind of want one, but you're on the fence. I would personally recommend it because of where I'm at, age and stage. Like, I have expendable income. It makes sense to me. I love VR. I'm excited about the future of VR. VR has had enough life existence in the world on the PC side to like get good ports of good games like Half-Life Alyx and Beat Saber. And I know Beat Saber exists on PSVR 1, so like porting that over. There will be a lot more content, I believe, because there already has been a lot of content. There'll be more. And speaking of, I'm also still playing Metroid Prime, Hogwarts Legacy, and Theater Rhythm Final Bar. I've been playing a lot of Theater Rhythm. That's kind of been my main title lately. Just as good as it was when I first started. Absolutely amazing. If you want to hear my thoughts about Theater Rhythm, you can go back to episode 6 and episode 5. I believe I played the demo in 5, and I started the game in 6, and I can't say enough high praise about it. It's amazing. If you like rhythm games and you like Final Fantasy, there's no reason not to get it. Just go get it. Like, it's $40, I believe. PS4 game, backwards compatible on PS5. Go get it. It's awesome. I am absolutely loving Theater Rhythm. So I'm going to go into the news segment now, a half hour into the show. Whew. There was a PlayStation Direct, and that's the only news story I'm going to cover this week because it was the biggest one, but also kind of disappointing. Not a whole lot. I was excited about this Direct because I had just gotten the PSVR 2, and they said there was going to be PSVR 2 content announced and shown off. So immediately I was like, what are we going to get? We're going to get the big names. We're going to get Half-Life Alyx. Are we going to get a date for Beat Saber? Like, what's going to happen? We didn't get any of those things. Just spoiler alert. But what did we get? I'm actually going to be reading from an article written by Wesley Yinpool over at Eurogamer, so go give them the click. I will probably link off to this in the show notes. Sony's first State of Play in 2023 is finished. In case you missed it, here's everything announced during the broadcast. The State of Play kicked off with a look at an upcoming PSVR 2 game, The Foglands, an atmospheric sci-fi western roguelike, coming out in 2023. You fight monsters, scavenge loot, and try to make it back before the fog takes you. And there was a brief trailer that showcased that. A pretty good showing, I think, of what that game entails. Not for me. I don't really get into roguelikes other than Returnal, so maybe I'll pay a little bit of attention to the reviews and like what this game entails if it's any fun. The reason why it was kind of a turnoff for me is because it looked a little bit scary-ish. I don't know, it was cartoony, so I could probably get into it, not be too scared. But it's a first-person shooter in VR. Next, there was a brief look at another upcoming PSVR 2 game. Green Hell is a survival game set in the Amazon rainforest. Totally turned off immediately. I am not into survival games. I don't like survival, scavenge, build structures, fight off monsters, die and lose everything, thirst and hunger type games. I'm just not. Don't Starve was boring. I don't enjoy those. That's kind of why I've been hesitant to play things like RimWorld. I just don't get into survival games much. It's not really my jam. Unless they're embedded in a larger RPG like Fallout, then I'll dabble, but at least Fallout is a full-blown RPG with an amazing story, dialogue choices, and character growth and development. The survival side is on the side. So I'm not really into survival games. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people like them, so if you are at all interested in Green Hell, go check out the trailer. Following that, In Dreams revealed its new VR game Synapse, which is due out in 2023 on PSVR 2. I don't really know much about what that was other than just another pretty colorful first-person shooter VR game. And that's kind of the issue here. Like this is the third PlayStation VR 2 title, and they're all first-person, and they all have like guns or weapons. It's just first-person shooters. Like, okay, I want some other things. Like, there's so many different types of genres out there to try in VR, and all we're getting is first-person shooters. Then the next one came out. It's probably the one that I'm the most interested in. Here's a surprise. Journey to the Foundation is a PSVR 2 game set in Isaac Asimov's Foundation universe. Foundation isn't something I would have thought would translate well to a VR action game. That's what I'm reading from the article. I agree. So I'm curious to see more. Here's the trailer. And it showed off the trailer. I don't know anything about this Foundation lore or Foundation world that Isaac Asimov wrote. I don't know anything about this. But it was the most promising showing, It showed the most in-depth kind of story-based. Yes, it was another first-person shooter, but it seemed like it was a little bit more rich in the story content than the other games were. The repeat, like, Deathloop style, Foglands, die and try again, doesn't seem to have deep story. Green Hell is just a survival game in the Amazon rainforest. Maybe there's a something there. I don't know. And Synapse didn't really wow me with what it showcased, but I'm really excited about and into the idea of big story artwork pieces in VR, and I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. So Journey to Foundation seems to be the first kind of toe in that water. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Specifically, some chatter on Twitter and Reddit about the Foundation universe apparently being awesome from the books, and I don't know what that is. So if you do, and you're listening to me talk about this, and you're screaming at me, like, Foundation is amazing, please let me know why, or let me know what. Like, what is it? It'd be awesome. Explain it to me like I'm 5. Give me some book recommendations. Maybe I'll go check it out before this game comes out, and I'll care more. The fifth and final PSVR 2 game shown during the broadcast was the Eye Tracking Before Your Eyes, due out 10th of March. And there was a trailer for that too. Before Your Eyes seemed really cool because it does leverage the technology for eye tracking, which is unique to PlayStation VR 2, I think. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong on the PC side. I know nothing about those headsets. I just know eye tracking is new, and it literally works in Horizon Forbidden West. You can look at the menu choices and press X. You don't have to use the joystick or any D-pads or things it tracks your eyes. And Gran Turismo 7 does the same thing. There's even a whole like feature where like the rendering resolution is lowered outside of your peripherals. You don't even notice it because it's so well done. It tracks your eyes, and where you're looking is rendered more sharply than the rest. Probably how they keep the frame rates and some of the graphical fidelity up high, despite the limitations on the screen and stuff. So that's cool. So after PSVR 2 announcements in this state of play, we finally start to get some PlayStation 5 4 content. And the first thing, of course, was Destiny 2's new expansion, Lightfall, which we've seen before. It's due out next week. And another new game called Chia, which is an indie title, kind of artsy, you know? I'm into this. This looks cool. This looks good. And more on this later, it's coming to the PlayStation Plus catalog in March. So go check out Chia if you haven't, because the trailer looked really, really good. If you're into, like, Firewatch, What Remains of Edith Finch, it reminded me a lot of, there's a game, Sea of Solitude, I believe, those kinds of games. So Chia. The next was then revealed all of the new games coming to PlayStation Plus in March. And so it got Chia, which is a day and date. That's new. That's exciting. Sony's still trying to compete with Game Pass on Microsoft, where that gets first-party games day one. And this is that happening. So in addition to that, you get Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, which bundles Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy together on PlayStation 5. That's amazing. Go play those if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber and you haven't. It's a Naughty Dog, right? They are the best in the business when it comes to these big cinematic set piece experiences you get through first party Sony. It's kind of a reason to own a PS3. Uncharted 2 and 3 were. So 4 and Lost Legacy don't disappoint at all. Also, I'm excited to see Tango Gameworks Ghostwire Tokyo, which I have almost bought like 6 times over the holidays when it was on sale. It was on my Christmas list even, and I thought maybe I would get it for Christmas. Penguin Platinumed it. So now we're getting it on PlayStation Plus, so kind of glad I didn't buy it. Now I get a chance to try it, so I'm excited about that. Rainbow Six Extraction is also there. Immortals Phoenix Rising, and Battlefield 2042, Minecraft Dungeons, and Action RPG Code Vein are all going to be on PlayStation Plus. So some of those are limited to extra and premium. So let me break that down real quick just because I listed them all really quick. So at front, just the PlayStation Plus, all tiers, it means essential, you're going to get Battlefield 2042, Minecraft Dungeons, and Code Vein. And then if you are subscribed to extra or premium, you'll then get Chia, Uncharted, Legacy of Thieves, Ghostwire Tokyo, Rainbow Six Extraction, Immortals Phoenix Rising, And they haven't announced any PlayStation Classic titles yet. Usually that announcement usually comes later, and then it'll be released later in March. Probably the March 21st, sometime after that, we'll get another drop of classic PlayStation games. Really good offering. Right off the heels of February. And February was phenomenal. Ollie Ollie World, Evil Dead, Mafia, Destiny 2, Beyond Light. And we just got Horizon Forbidden West. And I don't even remember the other titles, but The Quarry, we got that too. So Sony is really bringing the extra and premium tier value with the games that they're releasing, and I'm really excited to see the direction they're headed in. Chia being a day-and-date release that has like a Kena Bridge of Spirits vibe to it, in addition to the story. So good for PlayStation. Really good showing. So far in the state of play, we've gotten a whole bunch of PSVR 2 titles, followed by an announcement of Destiny 2, and then Chia, which is a brand new game, and now we have PlayStation Plus. So like now it's ramping up. Okay, here we go. Like excitement's building. What's next? What's on this state of play? What are we going to get? So up next was a look at the next game from Enhance, the maker of the wonderful Rez and Tetris Effect. Humanity is due out, and there's a demo today. I don't remember anything about Humanity at all, actually. Huh. Have to go check that out. And then there was the teen dinosaur narrative game, Goodbye Volcano High, is coming out on the 15th of June. So we got a release date for that. And I believe that is Don't Nod, or the people who made Life is Strange. I'm trying to look at the developer, because I remember this being a big deal when it was first announced, but sorry for the long pause and the awkward air filling in as I look for the developer. Oh my gosh. It's not... I'm clicking through like PlayStation's posts and they're not here. Developer is Co-op, KO_OP, and they made Depanur Nocturne, Winding Worlds, Gnog. Okay, never mind. Lara Croft Go. I can't use words. They made that. So, Goodbye Volcano High actually looks really good. A narrative game. It looks like Life is Strange kind of stuff. Oh, Humanity had like vibes of almost. Oh, it was okay. Got it. I'm gonna back up by one. Humanity had. It looks like Lemmings, but it's humans instead of lemmings. So droves and droves of human beings. As a puzzle game, you kind of drop things to redirect the humans, and it looks like you have to rescue them, and they'll just continue to walk in the same direction in mass. So instead of having like 5 lemmings all walking in one direction, it looks like you have 20,000 humans that are all going in one direction. And it looks kind of interesting. I probably won't pick it up, but it is coming to PSVR 2, PSVR 1, PS5, and PS4. And then the demo is already out, so you can go check that out if you'd like. I actually might get the demo for that just to have some extra PSVR 2 content to mess around with. But Goodbye Volcano High looks really cool. It looks like it's got some quick time events, rhythm game tapping buttons going on, but very narrative-driven game, just like you would experience with Life is Strange. It's caught my eye, so maybe go check that out if you care about it in June. Next, there was an announcement trailer for Naruto Cross Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections. It's a fighting game in the anime world. Then we got another really good announcement. I'm really excited about this. Larian Studios offered up a fresh look at the promising Baldur's Gate 3, which now has a release date of August 31st. Oh, and it's coming out for PlayStation 5 alongside PC, which is awesome. Because when this game was showcased, I really wanted a PC powerful enough to play it, which I got, not for Baldur's Gate 3, but through consequence, I needed a new PC. I got one. It can play Baldur's Gate 3. Diablo 4 is already kind of like my PC thing, maybe. Like, I want to play games on PC. I've always played Diablo, top-down RPGs on PC. And Baldur's Gate 3 looked like it was going to be a PC exclusive, and so I was kind of gearing up to play it on PC, but you don't get trophies on PC. You only get trophies on PlayStation platforms. So I was trying to do the mental gymnastics of how am I going to juggle between a Nintendo platform, that namely Zelda, PC games like Baldur's Gate 3, and keep my trophy rate going. I can't do all that. It's too much. So the fact that this is coming to PlayStation 5, I can use my controller, I can sit on my couch, and I don't have to worry about drivers. Yes, let's go. Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation 5. awesome. It was a great trailer. So if you want to watch more content, just a Baldur's Gate 3 trailer in general, like whether you play it on PC or not, go get it. It's awesome. Then there's a new game, Wayfinder. It's an online multiplayer adventure. The beta is a PlayStation exclusive from the 28th of February. New trailer for that if you care. Went on to showcase 3 new fighters in Street Fighter 6. The more they show Street Fighter 6, the more I fall in love with it. I'm a Street Fighter 2 fan through and through. Didn't really connect with Street Fighter 3 or any of the newer ones. I played 4 for a while, but it got to be so technically challenging. I remember struggling through the tutorials just to try and get some achievements, but to also learn the game. And you really have to be so accurate and precise down to the frame, right? We're playing a game that is rendered at 60 frames per second. So in 1 second, there are 60 frames of animation, and you have to execute the moves within a 5-frame buffer of animation. I can't do that. I never have been able to do it. I actually got so angry at the Street Fighter 4 tutorials that I just stopped playing. I almost broke controllers, threw things. Like, I was just so frustrating. This is not fun. I will never do this mid-fight. I will never pick up my sticks and be fighting someone and remember combos that require the minutia of a second to execute timing. No, that's just not going to happen. Not to mention like the psychological battles that happen in fighting games where you're executing moves simply to fake out what your opponent is doing so that you can trap them into a combo. I just can't do that. I don't do it in Smash Bros. And I am way better at Smash Bros. Than I'll ever be at Street Fighter. But the more I see of Street Fighter 6, there was an article in Game Informer that talked specifically about how it's supposedly very open and accessible to newcomers to fighting games and newcomers to the series. I'm really, really interested in Street Fighter 6, and the showcase here at the State of Play really increased my excitement. Zangief was shown off, a newcomer fighter, Lily, and Cammy. So I love when they sprinkle in, here's a character from our legacy, like our pedigree, and then here's a brand new, like a new IP, like new character, Lily. So all of those looked promising. They all looked like, every time they showcase a fighter in a fighting game, I'm like, oh, it looks awesome. And then you play as that fighter, and I can't do anything that the trailer showcased at all because I'm not good enough. But maybe a little bit of that. Afterwards, we got a new look, a third trailer of Resident Evil 4 Remake, which every time they show it, I'm more and more excited. It's going to be great. Resident Evil 4 is one of the greats, right? One of the best Resident Evils ever. I've never finished it. I am playing it on GameCube, quote unquote. It's like way in the back burner, but I have a file that I started recently, and by recently I mean in the last year, of Resident Evil 4, and it didn't jive with me when the game first had come out because it was so different from Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 0 and 3 that I thought it was too actiony. I didn't really like the over-the-shoulder third-person shooter aspect of it. But I've definitely grown to appreciate that now. And after playing Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, Resident Evil 4 remake is going to be absolutely amazing. So go check out that trailer because it did showcase more of the story and showcase some more of the characters and the things you'll be doing. There's also that big reveal about it having a VR mode, which I might have to dabble with when it comes out. And then Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, was showcased with an extensive look, I think 15 minutes of gameplay and a behind-the-scenes talk interview with the developers. And I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed with Suicide Squad. I was so excited about it. It's Rocksteady, right? This is the Arkhamverse. They made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. Those games were amazing. I'm going to pull some quotes off Twitter. Well, I'll talk about this, and then I don't even know how to approach this. I'm so all over the place. The gameplay showcase that they showed, the 15 minutes of gameplay, was a lot of jumping, very floaty gameplay. I mean, like you're always in the air, floating around, and then third-person shooting. So you're just moving a reticule, prop, 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 jump, fall, prop, prop, prop. Like, I hope my mic is picking up the noise I'm making. It's supposed to be a sad gunfire noise. And it seemed completely flat, and then it had some of the special abilities that were reminiscent of something you would do in Marvel's Avengers, or like a special, like, oh, my special's charged, gotta do my special, like any arena shooter would do. It wasn't anything about what I wanted. So the tweets that I'm going to kind of quote, or at least take as my own. John Lenneman from Eurogamer / Digital Foundry had some tweets, and then Imran Khan, who used to write for Fanbyte, I don't know what he's doing now, also tweeted something, and they both resonated with me so much that I grabbed the quote so I could talk about it here on the show. So Suicide Squad, another nail in the coffin. They've packed in all the things I dislike about modern games. Games as a service, it's always online, pointless open worlds, multiplayer, battle passes, loot, cosmetics, etc. That may work for some folks, but as a fan of the Arkham games, I'm feeling down about this one. I could not agree more. In fact, I replied that exact quote to that exact tweet. That was John Lenneman. I completely agree. Get out of here with this shoehorning games as a service, always online, multiplayer, battle passes, loot, cosmetics. Like, I'm not here for that. Arkham games were supposed to be a single player. They absolutely, and this goes into my other one. Developers revolutionized. This is Rocksteady. The developers revolutionized the modern superhero combat system. Right? We had Batman. You can see the tendrils of what they did with Batman Arkham Asylum in games like Spider-Man. You can see how fluid and how amazing the combat system worked. It didn't require any connection to the internet. It didn't require a 4-person team. It didn't have any gimmick to make you keep playing over and over again and forever. You couldn't change up Batman's costume by playing for X amount of hours, doing the grind and fighting the bosses and doing the stuff over again. No, it told a story. It was from the beginning to the end, and the stakes got higher, and you emotionally bought in, and you had feelings, and you got excited, and you were disappointed maybe. I don't know, like, the player actually walked through these things. When you're playing a game like Marvel's Avengers or Apex Legends, like, you can tell your own story, you can form your own narratives with your friends and how you connect with the game together as a group. I know we did that with Ghost of Tsushima. That's wonderful and awesome, but that's not what Rocksteady has made in the past. And so when you think, oh, Suicide Squad, superheroes, Rocksteady, you immediately set those expectations of this is what it's going to look like. And then what we got was this: multiplayer, games as a service, open worlds, third-person, over-the-shoulder shooting, shallow combat with these arena-type, like, Outriders, superpower things that you do whatever. Like, each character has their own play style, I guess. So it's all boiled down to a simple third-person shooter, boring enemies that you just point and press the right trigger over and over again. So I'm really, really down. Sorry if I feel like I'm super down. I was really excited about Suicide Squad. That initial gameplay, it wasn't even gameplay. The initial trailer that showcased the story was indicating that it was going to be deep and dark humor, hilarious, over the top, and I was really there for it. I was excited until this state of play that happened and showcased this. I guess I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm nowhere near pre-order territory. I wasn't going to pre-order it anyway because I wanted to wait for reviews. It's on my fantasy pick, so I hope it reviews well for what it is. I hope the critics receive it so that I can get some points and beat the Flock and Penguin at Fantasy Draft, Fantasy Critic. We'll see. Like I said, that's going to wrap up the news segment. It was a state of play. That took up the whole episode time slot that I have. So I warned you at the beginning because of the PlayStation VR 2 discussion that I wasn't going to have enough time to talk about retro games or retro talk at all, but I will drop you all with this. I bought a book that was a document, it's a giant textbook, coffee table book for every Nintendo 64 game ever made. And so there's screenshots and like the history of the game, who developed it. And I'm looking to kind of pull some games out of there that I could be excited to talk about on the show. So it's all about N64. It's there. I'm still watching Computer Booter on YouTube take consoles apart and repair them. Still looking at the Frankie mod for my own PlayStation 3 so I can get my backwards compatible PS3 back to working in full order forever and reliable as a main driver. I had my PlayStation 3 Slim hooked up here on my desk for a while because I was super excited about playing some PlayStation 3, but I never had time to play because I'm too engrossed in too many things. I'm spread too thin. Life is nuts. Video games are awesome. I love games. I love playing them. Everything about them. I hope that is conveyed in my show. So with that, I will leave you all for another week. I don't know what's going to happen in the news because I can't predict the future, but I will tell you I will probably be talking about PlayStation VR 2 again more as I dive deeper into it. I'm going to play the Star Wars game. I got the demo for that. If I like it, I'll buy it. And I'm looking at Star Tenders, which is like a sci-fi bartender game, and that's cheap. It's like $15. So if I decide that I want to buy more games, I don't have time to play what I have, I might get that, and I'll talk about whatever I'm playing on the show next week. Maybe I'll make some more space for some retro talk. There's going to be a Pokemon Nintendo Direct next week, so I'll probably highlight that as well. So with that, I leave you. Thanks again for listening. I am Termite, 80bitpodsmash.com, landing website where you can find links to all of my socials, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, Discord. There's a Discord server. Please come chat with us, talk to us, give me your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, and ideas, and let me know what you love, what you hate, how you resonate with this episode, and the things that I talk about. Answer all my questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Keep me straight. I love it. And I will talk to and see you next week.